Good morning. So today I'll be singing a South African lullaby. It reminds me of home because I live here now. I hope you enjoy it. Tula, tula, papa, tula, sana. Tulu, mamu, zofika, ikuseni. Tula, tula, papa, tula, sana. Tulu, mamu, zofika, ikuseni. Siyabe sitini, kabonge bechoyo. Beti buyela, ubuyele kaya. Siyabe sitini, kabonge bechoyo. Beti buyela, ubuyele kaya. Tula, tula, tula sana. Tula, tula, stando sam. Tula, 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 baba. Tula, tula, stando sam. Tula, tula, papa, tula, sana. Tulu, mamu, zofika, ikuseni. Tula, tula, papa, tula, sana. Tulu, mamu, zofika, ikuseni. Siyabe sitini, kabonge bechoyo. Beti buyela, ubuyele kaya. Siyabe sitini, kabonge bechoyo. Beti buyela, ubuyele kaya. Tula, 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 baba. Tula, tula, stando sam. Tula, 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 sana. Tula, tula, stando sam.
Thank you, Caroline. That was beautiful. Caroline Modiba, everyone. So Caroline told me a story. When she was 3, she knew she wanted to be a singer. And she would sing for her family. And there was one moment, I think when you were 16, you were in a competition, a choir competition, and there was someone in the audience who knew someone that meant you got your weekly singing lessons funded. And that started you on your journey. That has led to opera studios in South Africa and the UK, awards, critical acclaim, and now performances around the world. So it's beautiful that you could be with us today. But the bit of the story that I really like is how you told me the purpose that you had gave you the drive and the resilience to do what you do and to pursue your dream. And the other bit of the story was that the people that you met on the way, like that person who helped you fund your lessons, those people turned that dream into reality. And that theme of purpose and people is something I want to come back to now, and also we'll come back to it throughout the day. But thank you so much. You know, when I heard that song and I saw those images, it reminded me of a very specific moment in my life. I was a teacher in Zimbabwe, teaching maths and English in a rural school. It was a Sunday, and I'd taken the opportunity to go back to Harare to visit the city. I was in a taxi. It was really crowded, really hot. It was February. But I remember a moment when on the radio the announcement came that Nelson Mandela had been released after 27 years in prison. And that moment, now sometimes, right, there's a moment you can remember everything, like the color and the light, and it was just like that. And it was such a moving moment for me to be in Zimbabwe at that time, and the country erupted in hope. And when I went back to the school, there was a national holiday, we had the day off, and it was a really, really powerful moment for me. And actually that whole experience in Zimbabwe and in Africa really, I guess, led me onto my journey that ended, I suppose, here on this stage now. 100 years since Nelson Mandela was born, 18th of July, 1918. And on the stage that he spoke from, on the 13th of April, 2002, when he opened this lecture hall that was named in his honor. And it got me thinking and reflecting, 100 years on, all those years later since I'd heard the announcement on the radio, I had that feeling of hope. I don't know if you saw the Obama speech yesterday. He put it really beautifully. He said, it was as if the forces of progress were on the move, and that they were inexorable. And I thought that's such an amazing way to sum it up. And I'm sure many of you who witnessed that moment feel the same way. I felt hope at the time. And so now, come forward to today, and I'm an immigrant into this country. I consider myself a world citizen, and yet the news cycle is full of nationalist politicians. I have 2 young daughters. We live in a world where we're way away from gender equality. And I just sometimes wonder whether that progress, the forces of progress, are at risk. And that worries me. And I think it's important in that context to remember the inspiration and the insights of Mandela. For me, there's one really important insight, which goes back to the story we heard about Caroline, the power of purpose. Mandela says, there is nothing like a fixed, clear aim with an honourable purpose. It nurtures us, and it ensures that we succeed. That focus of having a purpose, it really is the thing that drives us and gives us resilience. And many of you in this room, in fact, I'd say all of you in this room, are driven by something. Whether it's about tackling, poverty and the billion people the more than 1 billion people that live in extreme poverty, the more than 1 billion people that don't have access to healthcare, the 750 million that don't have access to clean water. We're all driven by something. I think in this moment that we find ourselves in, we must remind ourselves of that purpose. Because in my view, if we have a purpose, we can never be lost. But if we don't have a purpose, we can never find our way. And we need that purpose to have the resilience to get through what might be the next few months. It could be the next few years, who knows. But that's the first really important lesson I think I take out from the legacy of Mandela. The other is the power of people, because actually it is people that turn the potential of purpose into the possibility of progress. It's the people around us that have got us to where we all are today and who will get us into the next chapter of our lives. And for Mandela, he was the master of creating these coalitions and bringing people together across divides, building new collaboration. And we need to, as a group who share a purpose, we need to come together like never before. We have to stand up. If you have the resources, and by that I mean the time, or the money, or the knowledge, or the networks, you have a responsibility, I have a responsibility, we have a responsibility to stand up right now, because if you don't do it, and I don't do it, and we don't do it, who is going to do it? You know, who is going to do it if we don't do it? So the power of people and collaboration is so important in translating the purpose that we have into reality. There's another reason why I think collaboration is so important, and it's very specific to this moment in time, and that is what the Edelman Trust Barometer has identified as the collapse, the implosion of trust across all parts of society. Business, yes, but also NGOs, government, media. And the question, therefore, for us is, what does that mean? Frances Frey from Harvard Business School, she puts it beautifully. She says, trust is the foundation of everything that we do. And if we learn to trust each other more, then we can have unprecedented human progress. So trust is the foundation of the change that we want to have. So the question is, how do we do it? You can't do it by talking about it. I think the only way you can do it is by collaborating meaningfully and authentically. And so that's the context in which Yvette, my co-founder of Business Fights Poverty, and also my wife, we've been asking ourselves a question: what can we do? What small change can we help make? What role can we play in this context? We're not in the front line like many of you. We're not shaping policy like many of you are. We're not, we don't have the levers of investment and innovation like many of you do. But the one thing that I think that we have, and that we've come to the conclusion about, the one thing that we have is we have the ability to help you by harnessing the power of people and purpose. Because what we can do, and what we are trying to do, is really, I guess, harness the power of collaboration to have a social impact. So you'd have noticed a shift in Business Fights Poverty. We've been going for about, nearly 12 years or so now. In the last couple of years, we've tried to really think creatively about how do we get the best people together from our 20,000 plus network, but also beyond, to come together around very specific social impact challenges, to co-create solutions to some extent, as much as we can, in a very clear timetable, in a very agile way. How do we work together more effectively? So that's what we've dedicated ourselves to, is finding ways. We're learning, we're improving over time, and we want to hear, obviously, your feedback on how we do that. You'll notice some great topic zones that we've set up today with some great partners that you'll hear about in a minute. But a lot of the work that you'll hear about is either feeding into or informed by some of the projects or challenges, as we call them, that are going on, or they're informing potentially new pieces of work we want to launch. But really, it's all about how can we as a group come together to share our collective intelligence to make these changes happen. So when Mandela was standing on this stage 16 years ago, I watched the speech again the other day, and he makes a big point about the importance of education, the importance of business schools in particular, and specifically he sort of points out the importance of a school like Saïd Business School in understanding the positive and the negative consequences of globalization for poverty and inequality. I think that's a really important framing for our conversation. And today, Mandela Day, the theme is action against poverty. So what I would invite you to do is think about how can we harness the power of business, of purpose, of collaboration to make a difference for millions of people around the world. Thank you very much.